happening, APLers? Here with a week 13 preview. Sorry, I'm in the elf on the shelf was taking over my normal recording spot. So it might be a little weird this week, but we'll be all right. So first matchup is Daggy and Solomon. So we got Zach Moss returning to the number one running back duty here for Daggy, which gives him a little bit of hope here to break into the win column against Solomon, who is in a must-win game in order to still have a shot at the playoffs. So I'm a little surprised by the lack of respect for Daggy in a must-win game. So we'll talk about that as we go. So can get these to pop up. There we go. Quarterback. Daggy is rolling with Gardner Minshew this week. The Rams get the Browns. Tough matchup. So we'll go to Gardner Minshew, who's been up and down, had some big weeks, had some shit weeks. So gets the Titans. 267 is the projection there. It's okay. On Solomon's side, he goes with Trevor Lawrence against the Bengals on Monday night. Looks like a good spot. Lawrence was actually was better than just average last week. Excuse me. He got over 400 points. So Solomon rolls with the hot hand here and looks all right. I think the only risk here is that they don't have to pass a lot. The Bengals don't mount much of an effort against them because they have a terrible quarterback. At the running back spot, Daggy's looking pretty decent. James Conner against the Steelers isn't bad. 75 points feels a little low there. Connor's definitely the guy there, although the DeMercado guy I think got a little involved last week. Oh no, it was Michael Wilson got involved last week, so maybe it takes a little bit away. Zach Moss is projected for the second most points this week at running back. So the Titans defense not as scary as it used to be against the run, but still okay. But he's going to get all the carries and get a lot of the passing work too. So looks good. Solomon side, the running backs are solid. Bijan gets the Jets. They're easier to run against than to pass against. And he seems to be getting a little more involved. So maybe there's some more boom weeks here. And then Rashad White has just been solid lately. It's over 100 points every week. Kind of matchup proof because he's involved in the run game and the pass game. And the Panthers are the matchup you want, even if you are matchup proof, because they're really bad. So I think Rashad probably goes for over 100, but that's the number in there now. In the passing game, Daggy had two of his three receivers go already. Brandon Cooks had a touchdown on Thursday night, 71 points, and Lockett had a average 52 there against the Cowboys. Daggy's rolling out Jahan Dotson in the game of the alleged best offensive game of the week there with the Dolphins and the Commanders. So 46 is kind of what Dotson's had a couple good weeks, but otherwise has been pretty shitty. So 46 is the number. And then Taysom Hill, he's been fine most of the year. So that's what we got for the Lions. Decent matchup. Should be some points scored there too. So 94 points for Taysom. On Solomon's side, got Amari Cooper against the Rams. He's got Joe Flacco throwing the ball. That'll be interesting to watch. So 63 is on the low side for Cooper, but I think that is baking in who he has thrown him the ball. Calvin Ridley has awoken in the last couple weeks, so rolling with him there against the Bengals on Monday night. He's got the double dip there with Lawrence, so it's a good start. And then Waddle again in that Commanders and Dolphins game, 95 points. Feels fine. Maybe more there if he can get deep. So here is where the disrespect for Daggy begins. So Tucker Kraft, the Solomon's tight end. I know Hawkinson's on bye, and he's the guy who you start every week. But there has to be better options than Tucker Kraft. So that could be a little weak spot for Solomon against Daggy here. And then the kickers and defense side, Daggy's kicker defense looks fine. Hopefully Nick Folk can get more than the 0 that Patterson got last week for him. And then on Solomon's side, got Dustin Hopkins, who's been the number one kicker in the league. Going Quay Walker, Logan Wilson are solid, but I don't know how to say his name. Anzalone, I think, or whatever, the Lions linebacker, he's not playing. So Some more opportunities for points there. Even with those disrespect items in the matchup, still have Solomon coming out on top. He gets it done on Monday Night Football. He's going to be watching Lawrence and Ridley. Need to get him enough points to get the win and stay alive. You also have Tucker Kraft going on Sunday night too to get his 30 points in the mix. So Diggy now moves his focus to being a week 14 spoiler against second matchup is me versus Greg. I didn't realize I used that pretty picture last week, but I did. Oh well. So at quarterback here, Tua, great matchup here against the Commanders. They're really bad at defending the pass. So 359 for Tua is a big number in there. Hope he can get there. Purdy gets the Eagles. It's on the road. Might be raining a little bit. Might be raining like all over the East Coast tomorrow. So maybe something to watch. But Purdy against the Eagles, 308 seems low. Everybody's been lighting up the Eagles. So I think that number could be much higher. At the running back spot, I kind of wish I would have started Charbonnet on Thursday night to get his 120 points. But Jahmyr Gibbs and Breece Hall both projected for 101. I don't have Hall in the starting lineup now because I said he had a hamstring issue, but it sounds like he's going to play. So I think those matchups are both okay. The Saints have been struggling against the run lately. They're going to be missing Pete Werner and probably Cam Jordan too. So maybe that helps. But Gibbs is always splitting with Montgomery, so you never know who's going to get the big play or who's going to get more touches there. So can't go too high. On Greg's side, DeAndre Swift gets 49ers defense. They're tough. So 95 points is the projection. Then Javante gets 85. He's been fine. Texans matchup on the road isn't super great, but not super bad either. So on the wide receiver side, Tyreek against the Commanders. He's like the number one guy everywhere this week. Supposed to just light up the Commanders. 147 points is a lot. That's the projection. CD had 178 on Thursday night. It's just kind of ridiculous. All over the place. Amon-Ra 108 against the Saints. There should be okay. He just catches a ton of passes and usually gets to his 100 points. Freiermuth against the Cardinals. He was ridiculous last week. They threw to him nonstop. We'll see if that continues this week. And then on Greg's side, he gets Tyler Boyd against the Jags on Monday night. It sounds like T. Higgins is going to play, so maybe that decreases his target share a little bit. Nico Collins against the Broncos could be a shootout there. That number could be a lot higher. And then DeAndre Hopkins against the Colts. Colts D isn't great, so maybe he gets deep. He's been had a couple huge weeks and then some pretty shitty weeks. So we'll see. Gerald Everett is in Greg's starting lineup right now. I'm projecting the Trey McBride points in here instead. So I assume that he will play and we'll have the tight end battle at noon in the Steelers Cardinals game. Kickers and defenses are thrown in. Aubrey had a big game on Thursday night. Jason Myers missed a couple field goals. So there's a difference there. And then the defense stuff is pretty close. So 1356 to 923. So sneak away with the win. And my $80 spend on Freiermuth is totally worth it. So, all right. So we're moving into the big matchups of the week here. We'll go first with Jake versus Ryan. So Jake, a win from Jake locks up the division. A win from Ryan pulls him within a game of Jake with a game to play. I don't know if he can catch him. I forget what I said last week, but anyway, it's big for both of them. Ryan needs a win to stay in the. He's going to be in the playoff hunt no matter what next week, but give him a better place, and then Jake can wrap up the division. So, yeah, quarterback Jake got 413 from Dak on Thursday night. Another big Dak game. He's just been really good, and Mike McCarthy just lets him throw the ball a lot. Which isn't what we expected going into this year, but that's what's happening. So big Dak game puts Jake in a nice spot going into this week. Ryan's rolling with Sam Howell against the Dolphins in what should be a shootout. So 330 is the number there, but he's gonna throw the ball like 100 times. So that number could be big, could match Dak, but definitely is a big number to go get. On the running back side, McCaffrey against the Eagles. It's a big game. McCaffrey's going to be involved heavily, so $140 there for him. AJ Dillon gets a tough Chiefs defense on Sunday night, 75 points there. He is going to get like all of the touches because Aaron Jones is out. So maybe it'll be like last week. He gets some receptions, gets a touchdown, and can exceed that. Eckler against the Patriots, Mostert against the Commanders. Interesting matchups here. So Eckler just really hasn't been good. Patriots aren't good either, really at anything. So it's got to just hope that Eckler gets more involved in the passing game, because it just run game really hasn't really worked this year. But he's still a good player, still tons of touches, still lots of opportunity. So 101 points. Mostert gets a really good matchup against Commanders. And projected for 89, it would be a lot higher. But Devin Achan is back in the mix again this week and figures to take some carries away from Mostert, but maybe it's really not that many. I mean, Jeff Wilson got a ton of carries last week and Mostert's still crushed. So Ryan's probably debating the Mostert versus Brian Robinson start here. I don't know if I have an opinion. I think they're probably pretty equal, and this diversifies the risk a little bit, having Howell and Robinson. If the Commanders defense or offense totally sucks, then you're totally screwed. Pass catchers, Jamar Chase is going to try to catch passes from Jake Browning on Monday night. And then Pittman and Sutton, I think, are fine. Pittman's been really good, been heavily targeted by Minshew. Titans defense is not great, so it's a good spot. And then I don't know, Broncos Texans seems like it could be a lot of points there. So Sutton's been fine. Kittle against the Eagles, I think I said it all year. Schultz is out, so Kittle's who Jake has to go with here, and we'll see what game we get out of Kittle. Get the big one, or do we get shut down by the Eagles defense, which is unlikely. So probably more of the boom side. On Ryan's side, you get AJ Brown against the 49ers. He's had a couple down games here, so we'll see in a big matchup against a tough defense if he can get back on track. Tank Dell has I think it's a thigh injury or whatever that is nagging him a little bit, so sounds like he's going to play. Should be fine. And then Debo against the Eagles. I like that spot too. Similar to what I just said about Kittle. Eagles defense has been getting shredded all year, so why not keep going? Then Laporta gets the Saints. Laporta's like kind of cooled off lately, but still steady. Still could be a big game. Throwing kickers and defenses, they're fairly equal here. And just have Jake coming out to about 120 point victory here. And a lot of it just is Dak's game on Thursday night. So the Eagles, I think I have here the 49ers and the Eagles game will be fun for this matchup. Obviously, Jake has the 49ers guys and McCaffrey and Kittle he's had all year. And then Ryan has AJ Brown and Debo in the mix there. So that game, how that game flow goes and what happens there probably has an impact on who comes away with the win this week in this matchup. And then the final matchup of this week is second to last matchup here. Sorry, I was thrown off. This is the big matchup in Greg's division here. So you get Ross versus Corey. So with a win, I believe Ross jumps into second place over Corey, and a loss and a Solomon win and makes things interesting for next week if the Boot Barn is going to make the playoffs. So we look at the matchups here. Ross is going with Russ against the Texans. Russ has been, I'd say, adequate this year, like around 300-ish points most of the time. The Texans games have been shootouts pretty much all year, so maybe this is the spot where Russ can I was going to say do old Russ things, but he had like half a season where he was really good. Otherwise, he's been just average for fantasy most of the time. So Russ at 275, Mahomes against the Packers here on Sunday night for 350. This is, I think, where Corey has to like have a big spread here to help him out and get the win here. So Mahomes has to just crush Wilson. So there's potential for that. 75 points here is a pretty big swing. Ross at the running back side is pretty solid. Montgomery against the Saints. He's been fine, beginning around 100 points with his split of the carries there. The Saints defense, same deal as talked about with Gibbs. can be exploited. And then Jalen Warren against the Cardinals. The Cardinals defense is just an awful. Kyron put up whatever, like 250 against them last week. He's obviously going to split with Najee, but he's the home run hitter of that offense. So 89 seems fine, which I think there's some potential for upside there. On Corey's side, he's missing the Raiders guys this week, so Josh Jacobs is out, and you get Jerome Ford against the Rams and gets Pacheco against the Packers. So Chiefs game is big for Corey. You got Mahomes, Pacheco, and then the guy in the background here, Justin Watson, is going to be in there too. So he definitely needs that Chiefs offense to move the ball and score a lot in order to get the win here. On the pass catching side, Josh Downs, 65 points against the Titans, and he's fine. DK Metcalf went nuts on Thursday night. He had 3 touchdowns all year and had 3 touchdowns on Thursday night. So 200 points in the books there for Ross is huge. That's why I think Corey has to make up a lot there at quarterback, because he's in the hole already at wide receiver. Jaden Reed looks pretty good for the Packers. We'll just see how many points, or how good that Packer offense is, or how many points they can put up against a solid Chiefs defense. And then Cade Otton, he's kind of gross to start, but he's been fine. So 78 points against the Panthers there. On Corey's side, we need Mike Evans to do some stuff in order for Corey to get the win here. Evans gets the Panthers. They're, as I mentioned, really bad. So maybe there's a big game for Evans. Maybe he can get behind him a few times. Drake London against the Jets is a tough matchup. The Falcons are already not good at throwing the ball, and now they get the Jets, who are really good at defending it. And there's like going to be no pace in this game at all. So just not like a huge spot for London. So 61 points reflects that. And then Corey goes back to the Justin Watson well here. Still think there has to be somebody better, but we have the stack with Mahomes here. So 43 points is projected for Justin Watson. I think another good spot for Corey to get a big advantage here is Evan Ingram against the Bengals on Monday night. So 105 points for Evan Ingram would be good. Maybe there's more there. Throwing the kickers and defense, the only thing I would note here is Jason Sanders had like one good week at kicker last week was it. Ross sticks with them against the Commanders in a good matchup, so maybe that is a good move. I don't know. And then Micah Parsons, despite being disruptive all game, only got 7 points for Corey on Thursday night. So to look at it here, the shitbag Boot Barn scurries away with another win. Here's how I have it projecting. So stupid DK is too much to overcome. It has like one good game a year, and it has to be this week. So if this is the route that it goes, Ross would lock up a playoff spot here and be tied with Corey for second in the division. So go Chiefs. Hope they get a nice offensive game and boost Corey to win. Last matchup. Ooh, I did not put the timing in on this stuff. This is Tank versus Today. This is a big one here in the division. If Tank can get the win, I think he'll have a playoff spot locked up, because he'll be 2 games ahead of Today with 1 left. There'll still be some stuff to figure out between Ryan and Today, depending on how those matchups go this week. If Ryan wins and Today loses, obviously he's good. But if Ryan loses and Today loses, we'll still have some stuff for next week. We'll go through this a little differently. It looks Tank is favored here a little bit. We'll go back, just have it so we can't even see the mustache. It's Kelsey with a mustache. There's a picture behind there, and it's kind of haunty. All right, so the big stuff for Tank is the normal big stuff. So Hurts against 49ers, tough matchup. 324 is the number here, but Hurts has been kind of matchup proof lately. He's had just shitty stats at halftime, and like did last week he had shit at halftime and found a way to get to 350. The week before he only got into like the 250s somewhere, but 49ers is a tough one to go against. And then Kelsey is obviously his other big dude there, and it seems like that's the plan, is just to go to Kelsey all the time, and it has been, and I don't know if that can get shut down. So really good spot there. Other highlights in Tank's roster here: Henry against the Colts seems like a really good spot, and Kamara against the Lions. It's 114. The number seems high for him, but like everybody on the Saints is hurt, so there's potentially no Olave. Rashid Shaheed is hurt, and so it's just going to be like Derek Carr checking down to Kamara all day. So 114 is the number there. Ayuk in a really good spot against the shitty Eagles defense. Devonta on the other side of that one. So that game is a shootout. Looks really good for Tank here. The Clorin, as Tank and I discussed this week, is just like the picture of mediocrity. So 71 points against the Dolphins, but maybe he breaks 100 for the first time this year in that really good matchup. On the Sadeh side, the matchups look really tough. Rolling with Derek Carr at quarterback. That's interesting. Gets the Lions. They're probably going to need to throw a lot in order to keep up with the Lions. So I'm thinking that's where Sadeh's at with this play. He's got Jordan Love, who's been crushing the last few weeks on the bench. But they play the Chiefs, which is hard. So projection for Carr here isn't great, though. So we'll see how that one plays out. Kyron, after his huge week last week, it's the Browns. Tough matchup. I was listening to a podcast that said the home road splits on the Browns defense are interesting, though. Like they're unstoppable or impenetrable at home, but on the road, they're a little more susceptible. So maybe Kyron can break through this 110 against that tough Browns defense because they're at home. Christian Kirk plugged in for his normal 80-ish points here on Monday night. Maybe he gets a big one or something to surpass that, but that's been pretty steady. Puka, another 80 points here in the Browns. That's been pretty steady as well. Cooper Kupp looks kind of like a broken man right now, so maybe Puka gets the leftovers in a tough Browns matchup again. And then Rashee Rice, just why not go into that Chiefs offense? He had a nice week last week as a breakout. Lots of hype on him as the guy that's going to get more going forward. So worth a shot here. And Njoku's been really, really solid for most of the year here. So 100 points is fine. So when you add it all up, looks like Tank's got about 115, 120 point advantage here. And I think a lot of it comes down how those quarterbacks play out. Derek Carr has to play catch up a lot. Maybe he can get into the 350-ish range and Hurts gets shut down by the 49ers. If there's some rain, makes things weird. Maybe that can swing things there. And then the Packers in kind of the cold on Sunday night. Maybe that slows the Chiefs down. I don't know. We'll see. So I do think Tank comes out on top and moves into prime playoff position, and Kelsey puts it out of reach. So look at everything here. You have Solomon over Daggy, me over Greg, Jake over Ryan, Ross over Corey, Tank over Sadeh. And my lock of the week will be Solomon over Daggy. So that's what I think is going to happen. What I hope happens is I'm hoping for chaos really over in the Jake division. So like Ryan winning, Sadeh winning would be fun just because it will make things very interesting for next week. Definitely need Solomon to win and then need Corey to win for chaos. In the other division, I shouldn't say really say chaos, just to have a meaningful games next week for who's going to sneak into that third playoff spot. So that's all I got. And hope everybody's team does all right and nobody dies. Later.